Hello everybody, welcome to Technic Tuesday. Today we are going to be making this trifold pull-out card. It's got, 3 pieces, trifold, and it pulls out and it's got this cute little tab so people kind of know what to do with it. It's using one of the designer series paper that comes free with Celebration, which is currently the promotion. It's the Dandy Designs. And fabulous pack because you get 48 sheets, 4 of each of the 2-sided papers. And when I saw this one, I thought, oh, I know what I'm going to make with that one. Sometimes you just have to look at the colours of things and feel inspired. So this is what we're going to be making. So without further ado, let's get started. As always, of course, the directions and dimensions and all the cutting pieces that you need will be in the description box below. So I'm using Pear Pizzazz, which matches one of the colours of the dots. And that's just a standard card base size. It's 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. And then we're just going to fold it in half and give it a burnish with the bone folder. Then I took a piece of the designer series paper and it's the 1/4 inch smaller. So it's 4 by 5 1/4. The trifold part for the inside it's 2 3/4 3 times, which very conveniently is 8 1/4. So I just cut 1/4 inch off and it's by 5 1/4. So it's the same height as the designer series paper. But like I say, it got scored at 2 1/4 and at 5 1/2. So when you fold it into 3, you get 3 lots of 2 3/4, and there was the 1/4 inch. That was the extra piece that I cut off. So let me just burnish those into place. So when we come to put it inside the card, it will be the trifold, which pulls out, which gives the card its name. What we're going to do is, quite often, I use my dies. And not everybody has all of the dies. So I thought for anyone who doesn't have them yet, I would show you how to cut it with the Stampin' Up paper cutter. And we will just cut the square out of the middle. However, I cheated. Well, I didn't cheat. I went ahead and gave myself the directions of where I need to cut it from to accomplish the same thing. Like I say, the dies are fabulous because you just put it on, roll it through the machine, boom. But sometimes they're a little bit of an investment, especially if you're just starting out. So what we'll do is we'll attach the designer series paper to the front of the cardstock, but bearing in mind that we're going to be cutting this piece out and it's nice to have that little bit of extra left over. So what we'll do is we'll actually just stick it around the edges like it was going to be a regular layer. And then try and gauge where this hole will be cut out from and put a little bit of extra on there to hold that piece down. Otherwise it would always try and flap open. So we'll just put it in place, leaving the equal edges around the sides, the 1/8 of an inch. And then we're going to put it into the paper cutter. I just need to stand up for this part because otherwise my head tries to join in. And standing up puts me awfully near my overhead camera. So if I've suddenly started shouting, I do apologise. So let me get the directions into place. So we need to put it 3/4 of an inch across. And the nice thing about a Stampin' Up paper trimmer is that it has a small section of measurements on this side. So we'll line it up at the 3/4 inch mark, and then we're going to come down 3/4 of an inch, which will be here. So if we line the paper cutter up, we can just poke it in and it will only start cutting. Obviously don't cut from the top because you'll cut that piece off. And we're going to go down as far as 3 1/2 inches. And that gives us the size of the box that we need. And then we're going to move it over so the edge measures at 5 inches. So right here. and we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to find where the 3/4 inch is and put the line on the blade in at that mark and come down to 3.5 inches. And then, because we know this was 3/4 of an inch, if we line this up at 3/4 of an inch on the paper cutter, we can put the blade in and we can cut from this cut line to this cut line, and it will give us a nice edge on our square. And then, because it was 3/4 of an inch and it's 2 3/4 inches, we just need to, I can't remember how I did this now. Help! We just need to line it up at the 3.5 mark, because that's as far as we cut down. Remember when we had it like here and we cut it down to 3.5? If we line this up at 3.5, when we put the blade in, it will cut equally. Oh, now I can sit myself back down and not be yelling directly into the microphone. So paper cutter can go away for the time being, and we should have neatly cut the whole square out 2 3/4 inches. It feels like there's just a little schmeck of stickiness on there. So this we can save for another project. This is the piece that we're going to need to put onto the front of the card. So we have this piece, and we just need to make sure it's going to fit without being too snug. So what I'm going to do is bring the paper cutter back and literally just move it from where the cutting, knocking my camera stand, just move it over and slice off that much. And you might think, well, what's the point in that really? But it will actually allow the card to flow a little bit smoother and come out. So what we need to do now is put the inside into the card, and it needs to open this way. So you just need to have a practice to then know which side to put the adhesive on the inside. So we're going to leave the same border around the edges. So it'll just be 1/8 of an inch at the top and the bottom, and the 1/8 of an inch down the side. And then close the card and put this in here. So then when we attach this, it's going to fill the gap, less that little hair's breadth that we cut off, and actually it looks a little bit fluffy. So I'm literally just going to take my snips and cut another little piece that big off. There we go. So now we need to put adhesive on this piece so it attaches to the inside, but obviously only where you can see the white is in the window. We don't want to seal the card down to itself. So we'll put adhesive there and attach the card stock back to the front so it fills the gap, but then when you pull, it will open the card up inside this square. So the next piece to do is to add the layers. So this was 2 3/4 square. The fresh Freesia is 2 5/8 square, and the whisper white, how old am I? The basic white is 2 3/8. Whisper white was a lovely cardstock that Stampin' Up used to do, but it was quite a yellow white. And then when they started having kits, I don't know why my adhesive has decided not to work. It had a bit too much of a yellow look, so they changed it to basic white, which is more of a bright white. You know when you have Christmas lights and some of them are yellow and some of them are the icy white? And it really makes a difference when you put them together. So a little bit of fresh Freesia, 2 5/8 square layers onto there. And then 2 3/8 of the basic white will layer on top of that. And that will give us a nice base. So in order for people to have something to grasp, to pull, I just cut out 2 little ovals. It's actually using an old retired punch, a little oval, but you can cut any shape, or even you could just cut a square as long as you've got something to attach it with. So I'm just going to pop a little bit of glue on because we really want it to stay put. So a little bit of the mono liquid glue will be nice and strong because it's going to be tugged at. It really needs not, you don't want to be pulling it off and out of place. So we'll pop that one on there, and then we'll just line up the one on the other side. So we've got a nice little gripper handle, and that can go back through there and line up. The nice thing about the liquid glue, it's a little bit forgiving and it's not sort of an insta stick. So then we need to get our little guy who is the turtle. And what I did was by the miracles of YouTube, Blue Peter, the power invested in me, I stamped one. So I stamped him using the Playing in the Rain stamp set, and then I cut it out with the dies, or I will cut it out with the dies, but obviously because I'd coloured him. But what I wanted to do was colour it first, and I wanted to show you how I did that quickly with the alcohol markers. So we're just going to go quickly around his face with the light Daffodil yellow, Daffodil Delight, and his arms. And then we'll take the lightest Old Olive and do his shell. Oops. And then we'll do his tummy. And then I'm going to pop the colouring side away and use the bullet end, and just where his body kind of creases, just around the edge, just add a little bit of green to give him a little bit of depth. And then I'm going to use Flirty Flamingo pink actually to colour the flower, and then one little dot of the darker pink in the middle, just so it gives it a little bit of definition. And that's the turtle coloured in. And then, like I say, I went ahead and used the dies. This is the die for the turtle guy. Ran him through my die cutting machine, and voila, out he popped in the theme of Here's One I Made Earlier. So he's going to go on the front, and we will attach him with dimensionals. So just put a couple, 2 or 3 on the back. Whoops. Take the backing papers off quickly and pop him into place so he looks quite cute. And then what we need to do is put the greetings on the inside. So for my little guys, I made him a birthday card. So I took the Best Day stamp set, which I just think is awesome. This cupcake cat is just very much appeals to me. So we'll pop some decorations on, we'll use the Memento black and just quickly add some greetings to the inside of the card. Wishing you all the wishes. Because there's plenty room, we can add lots of greetings. And this one says, it's the best day because it's your birthday. Personally, I absolutely love birthdays. I am a birthday princess. I wear my tiara and have the best time. And then what I'm going to do is take the fresh Freesia and follow that colour through and just add a little bit of confetti, because why not? You'll notice on the sample, unfortunately, it got a little bit of an edge. So you just have to be careful when you're stamping these ones on to not press it into the ink too hard. Otherwise you can get an edge. Fortunately, it's confetti, so it just looks like it's an extra piece, or at least that is the excuse I am telling myself. And then the last thing we need to do is add the greeting to the front. So I'm going to use Granny Apple Green, which again is one of these lovely colours, and take a little piece of cardstock that I had left over when I was cutting out layers. And I'm going to use the happy birthday stamp. Just stamp it into place. Voila, easy peasy. And those of you who watch my videos, you know how I like to use every little piece of cardstock and all my little scraps and all that good stuff. So even being able to use up to 1/4 inches very much makes me happy. Because, you know, if you want a little skinny greeting like that, nobody wants to cut a whole piece of cardstock just to get one little greeting. So it's nice if you've got a few pieces left over. So what we'll do is we will stick this down. That non-sticky adhesive is haunting me. So we'll pop it into place. You can always pre-cut it, of course, but sometimes I just like to size it as it goes along. So pop it into the paper trimmer and just eyeball it into where the trough goes. And then you can have it exacto size. And then we just need to bring the dimensionals back in. Take off the backing paper. Oops. And stick it into place. And then if we pop a little pull through, there we go, there's the second one. So it's kind of a snap. It's a nice little, I don't know, it's a nice little extra. It gives you an awful lot of extra spaces to write. Typically, if it was just a half a card, you would write on the right hand side and you wouldn't necessarily fill in the left hand side. But because this is open and it flows, you get lots of spaces to write lots of greetings. So here's the original. Here's the one we just made. Surprisingly the same. And that's it. If you like what you've seen, please subscribe. If you like to like it, I like to be liked. If you want to pass a comment, I will always try and reply to you. If you want to share it with your friends, please do that. Everything that gets me out there, I thoroughly appreciate. I appreciate you for watching, and thanks so much.